I said, when they shut that down, I said, this must be really bad. But we over the last year, we have survived, overcome, and endured. And so let me salute all of you all tonight for your diligence over these last 12 months, your faithfulness to ministry and your faithfulness to one another. It has not been an easy task these last 12 months, but you all have done well. And so I celebrate you and salute all of you all tonight.
Yeah, again, thanks for joining us. We appreciate the love that you all have given us over this past several months, and we will continue to just love on one another. And that's what tonight is all about.
So here's what we want to do tonight. We want to talk tonight about bringing out the best in your partner. How do you bring out the best in your partner? And let me just set some guidelines tonight. If you all are eating dinner, enjoy your dinner. If you have questions, I think we're going to put them in the chat, and someone will get those to us as they come in. But if you have questions, jot them in the chat, and we'll try our best to answer as many of them as possible. But our aim tonight is just to literally pour into you all, encourage you all, and share some insight. Again, it's been stated earlier that we're celebrating 37 years of marriage next in 2 weeks. March the 9th, in about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. So tonight we come with that experience. We also come with 25 years of pastoral experience and also 31 years of full-time ministry experience. So we bring all of that together as we share with you all tonight, just to give you all some guidance, some hope, some direction. But I believe it's going to be an empowering evening. So I'm looking forward to hearing what Lady Carla has to say, and I hope she's looking forward to hearing what I have to say throughout this evening. And so again, we want to talk about bringing out the best in your partner. And I want to open with a couple questions that I hope prick some thought, inspire some conversation, not just tonight, but over the next few weeks as you all dialogue and share with one another. And one of the questions I want to open with tonight is this, and just think about it, perhaps jot down your answers, talk about it among the two of you all, but let's open like this. It's been 12 months since we've been in this pandemic, as one of our staff persons would say, situation. It's been 12 months since we've been in this situation. And what I want to know is this: what has amazed you about this season? What about this season has simply blown your mind? Is it the fact that you stayed together? Is it the fact that you didn't kill one another? Is it the fact that you didn't just run from the house screaming? What has amazed you about these past 12 months? What has this season allowed you to do that you would not have been able to do if there was not a pandemic? I want to look at that for a moment, because what this season has done, it's allowed you to do some things, perhaps together, perhaps even individually, that you would not have been able to do if there had not been a pandemic. And I open that way because I firmly believe that the pandemic has created opportunities for us. The pandemic has not solely been a negative, although we often look at it from the negative lens. I believe that the pandemic has been a major opportunity. Many of you have gotten to know one another better. You have grown. You worked out some concerns together. And if it had not been for the pandemic, perhaps where you are now in your relationship, you may not be. So answer that question among yourselves. As a matter of fact, discuss it for a moment. What has this season allowed you to do that you would not have been able to do if there was no pandemic? What has amazed you about this season? Take about a few moments and just discuss that question among yourselves. because I raised that question because I really believe that the season has created some major opportunities for you to grow as partners in the faith, as a couple. And I use that term intentionally, partners in the faith, are because you have to view yourselves that way. You're partners in this journey. You're partners in the faith. And what has this season done to your partnership? How has it grown, developed, and matured your partnership in this season? And so again, we're going to talk about tonight how to bring out the best in your partner. Now, the season that we are in has obviously put your coping skills to the test. One of the obvious things about this season is that it has put your coping skills to the test. Couples are spending, and I shared this with Lady Carla, and I think we had a brief discussion on it. Couples are spending more time around one another than ever before. And although it's been a blessing, it's also a test. Because you're not going out to the office, because you're not going out to stores, you're spending more time together than perhaps you ever had before. And because of that, number one, it is a blessing, major blessing, but it's also a test. It's a testing, a test, and on the light side, it's a testing. How much can you put up with the same person over time, every day, 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day? The season has challenged every person in the room tonight. And I'm wondering, how have you handled being around one another more time than you would have spent together pre-pandemic? Because think about your schedules prior to the pandemic. You were going in one direction, you were leaving at different times, coming back home at different times. But now you get up together, you eat lunch together, eat breakfast together, eat dinner together, watch TV together, you work in the same room together, you walk down the steps together. You're doing everything together all day long. And that can be, it's a major blessing, but it's also a test for some persons. Now, there's a poll, at least somebody ready for that poll whenever you're ready. There's a poll I want you all to take real quick. If Lisa can put that up right now. If you could just do this quick poll.
Vanessa. I launched it. It's launched.
It's launched.
Can you see it? Oh, yep. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So if you can just start filling that out.
Yeah, I'm saying. Oh, please.
You just say the word.
I need it.
Now, again, I wanted to, those questions, the answers are for you to discuss. How have you spent your time together? Have you spent your time together growing closer? Have you spent your time together in separate rooms all day long? Has the time together been a great joy? Has it been stressful? Has it been a major blessing? Has it been difficult? And I think I need you to really be honest about your answers tonight, because again, the season can be a major blessing, but it can also be a test at the same time. And so I want to open tonight with, again, a series of questions just to generate some thoughts in your minds. I'm going to dive into the brunt of our sharing tonight. Here's another question I want you to ponder. What do you know, or what have you learned 12 months into a pandemic about your partner that you didn't know that you wish you knew before? What have you learned 12 months into a pandemic about your partner that you didn't know that you wish you had known before? Just some food for thought. And here's the question. I'm gonna deal with this in detail in a few moments also. Have you seen their best, or have you seen the worst of them? Have you seen the best of them in this season? Or have you seen the worst of them? Or have you seen both? What have you seen out of your partner? Have you seen their best? I see some laugh. I see some, oh Lord, your best, their worst, or a combination of the two of them. Now, and as you answer that question, the follow-up question is this: what have been the triggers? What have been the triggers to pull out that allowed you to see their best? And what have been the triggers that allowed you to see their worst? Because there's some triggers that you need to know whether how far you can go, how far you shouldn't go. Mm-hmm. Now, and here's the thing: what role did you play, or do you play, in bringing out their best or bringing out their worst? What role do you play in bringing out their best and bringing out their worst? Now, one of the goals that we have to have in our relationship is to always see our partner shine. I'm gonna stay here for a second. One of the goals that we have to have in our relationship is to always see our partner shine. One of our goals has to be to want our partner at their best always. Now, I'm really going to, in pre-marriage counseling, one of the questions I always ask the couple is this. I ask them to tell one another what their future spouse can and should expect from them. I have them, they're sitting in my office and they're facing one another. And I tell them, ask them to do this. Tell your future spouse what they can expect from you. And in turn, I ask the other person, now let's flip it. What can they expect from you, and what do you expect from them? And one answer that I'm always waiting to hear, but I very seldomly hear, is this: is that my spouse can expect me to bring out the best in me. I rewind that. When I raise the question, what can your spouse or future spouse expect from you? The answer that I'm always waiting to hear, but I very seldomly hear, is this one: my spouse can expect me to bring out the best in them. And so my goal tonight, or our goal tonight, is to challenge you to bring out the best. It's easy to bring out the worst in your partner, but it should be just as easy to bring out their best. Now, question becomes, how do you do this? How do you bring out the best of your partner and not the worst? First of all, you have to want to. Real simple. If bringing out the best in your spouse, this has to be intentional. Intentional outcomes occur through intentional moments. Intentional outcomes occur through intentional moments. Now, it begins by giving your spouse the best of you. It begins by giving your spouse the best of you. Are you giving your spouse the best from you? Now, here we go. When I was a younger preacher, couple years ago, when I was a real young preacher, about 2-3 years ago, my pastor told me that when you are writing sermons, always give God a fresh mind. When you're writing sermons, never go into writing a sermon with a tired mind, because a tired mind gives you a tired sermon. Now, in relationships, You have to always give your partner a fresh you. You have to always give your partner a fresh you, which means, and this is a really different angle to tackle this from tonight. You have to always give your partner a fresh you, which means in order to give your partner a fresh you, you have to take care of yourself first so that you can then take care of your partner. Mm-hmm. Problem we have in so many relationships is this. We try to take care of the partner before we take care of ourselves. If you're going to give your partner the best you and bring out the best of them, you have to learn to take care of yourself so that you can take care of your partner. If you don't take good care of yourself, it's going to be very difficult to take good care of your partner. And so if I'm going to bring out the best of you, I've got to offer you the best of me. Now, how do you take care of you? What are you doing? And look at this. I know this is a couples ministry celebration event tonight, but for a moment, I want you to look at it from a personal point of view. How are you taking care of you, not your spouse? And brothers, get this. I know you're the man of the house. I know that your job is to protect, to cover, provide for. But if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of her. And so one of the first things I want to challenge you to do is to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. What does that mean to you? Does it mean that you're eating properly? Does it mean you're exercising? Does it mean you're getting proper sleep? You're making your doctor's appointments? How are you taking care of yourself? So the first thing you got to be willing to do if you're going to give your partner a fresh you is take care of you. Now, it also means that you are mindful of your dreams. It also means that you are mindful, again, for a moment, I know this is couples, but for a moment, think individual, think person. You are a person before you are a couple. You are a person before you are a couple. Now, are you mindful of your dreams? It's hard to dream for someone else when you never dream for yourself. It's hard to dream for somebody else if you stop dreaming for yourself. Now, I'm not saying that it's all right to be selfish. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that it's hard to make someone else happy with you when you're not happy with you. How can I make you happy with me when I'm not happy with me? Because I've stopped dreaming because I don't take care of myself. One of the things we've got to learn to do in a relationship is bring the best me into the relationship, and Lady Carla from deal with this later, consistently. So first thing you got to learn to do is bring to the relationship a fresh you. Got to take care of you. Got to be mindful of your dreams. Now sometimes here's the slim line. Sometimes what makes you happy is making your partner happy. But if you're going to bring out the best of your partner, you got to bring out the best in you. I had to always make sure that I'm giving Carla Debnam the best me. Because if I'm not doing the relationship, I'm doing more harm to the relationship than I am helping the relationship. Now, here's another thing. If you're going to bring a fresh you into the relationship, here's something so critical, but it's so simple, but it's so critical, and that's this. Find an outlet for your frustrations. What's your outlet for your frustrations? Everybody needs a healthy outlet. A healthy outlet, because in these last 12 months, I'm sure that everyone on this in this Zoom tonight has had a moment of frustration, or two, or three, or but what's been your outlet? Here's why that's important. Your outlet can't be your spouse venting on them all the time. You need a healthy outlet for your frustrations. So bringing out the best in your partner means giving them the best of you. Are you giving your spouse the best of you? Are you bringing out the best in them? Now, what we want to deal with tonight, maybe Carla myself, is this. I want to suggest that you have to first be committed to giving your best to get your partner's best. But there are also what we're calling tonight the 4 C's. We're going to deal with the 4 C's tonight: consistency, compassion, compromise, and commitment. Consistency, compassion, compromise, and commitment. Now, I see the chat, and Anthony just gave me this message that persons have seen the best and worst, but more the best, and that's great to hear. It's great that you're seeing more the best from your partner in this season. Yeah. Let's talk about tonight these 4 C's: consistency, compassion, compromise, and commitment. First C, consistency. What do you need to be consistent in your relationship? Mm-hmm. What do you need in order to be consistent in your relationship? I want to offer, you need 4 things: consistent time, consistent attention, consistent quality conversation, consistent presence. Now let's deal with this. Consistent time. How are you giving your partner consistent time? One of the things I found in this season of pandemic is that I'm probably working more or harder now than I was pre-pandemic. I don't have an opportunity now to always leave the office at 15:12. Because sometimes I'm working from here. But I have to learn to give consistent time to the relationship also, and consistent attention. Because we can get so caught up in the other things that we do in life that we don't give our partner the consistent attention that we promised to them when we said I do, or as you're on the road to saying I do. Another one is consistent quality conversation. Consistent quality conversation. Not just what you watch on TV, not what you what's the COVID numbers today. Some quality conversation. We spend a lot of time talking about what are the COVID numbers.
Yes. What's the percentages?
Yeah, what's percentages? What about some quality conversation about you and I? We got to learn to give quality conversation to the relationship. That's not about the children. It's not about the crazy in-laws. It's not about what your sister-in-law did, your brother-in-law did, how they're asking you for money. No, but your relationship. What quality conversation? Wow. I must have hit a nerve. I saw some heads shaking. I'm hitting a nerve. Let me back up off of that. But some quality conversation and consistent presence. You ever been talking to somebody and your mind been around the corner somewhere? If you're going to bring out the best in your partner, they have to know that when they're talking, you're paying attention. Did you hear what I just said? When they're talking, you're paying attention. You're not just, watch this, trying to see who won the game. But what you're really doing is saying, hey, I need I need to be present. Now, so consistency means, and I'm turning over to Lady Carla in just a moment. Consistency means checking in on each other on a regular basis. How often are you asking your partner how you're doing and you mean it? You're not just asking because it's what you're supposed to do, but you really want to know. How are you doing? What's happening? How's your day really been? right? Someone said it's a big difference in being present and being present. You can be here and be someplace else at the same time. And so consistency means checking in on each other on a regular basis, checking to see how they're doing. And watch this, how are they doing mentally? How are they doing emotionally? Because what have we learned in these past 12 months? The mental and emotional stress is real.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say this now. My wife's a counselor. Y'all know that. A couple of the counselors on the line tonight. Most of us need some counseling in this season, and that's for real.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the mental and emotional stress. I was on a meeting the other day with a group of pastors, and we had it was a workshop on pastoring through a pandemic. But one of the largest presentations was a therapy session that we were given, because we in this season, if never before, the mental and emotional stress and strain is real. Many of you have lost loved ones and have not been able to properly grieve. So we got to make sure that when you ask the question, how you're doing, we're asking, we're taking a deep dive. How you're really doing, how you're mentally, how you're emotionally, how you're handling, how you're handling all this crazy news. So it's being consistency, is being there when you need it, and it's having a sense of commitment to the relationship. Your partner should never wonder if you are committed to the relationship. Not just committed to intimacy or sex, but you're committed to the relationship. Now, here's another thing. When I raise the term consistency, I think it's so important. You're always working to know one another better. Mm-hmm. I ask those questions to begin because I want to know, do you know your partner better now than you did 12 months ago? Because you should, because you all have been shut up in that house together. I mean, you sleep together, you eat together, you work together. I mean, some of your desks to work, because you're teleworking, is side by side. Now, but have you gotten to know one another better? Now, consistency then is crucial. Consistency means that, and I know I'm taking a lot of time, but I let Carla in here. Consistency means...
Y'all know how he is. He's consistent.
Consistency means that your significant others likes you enough to keep trying to improve the relationship. Do you like me enough to continue to try and improve the relationship while you saying it is what it is? I first heard that line, I don't know, about 10 years ago. Anthony used to come and say that line every day. It is what it is. I said, but he'll stop saying it is what it is. But here's the thing: you have to be so committed to the relationship that you're always trying to improve it, always trying to make it better. Consistency means that your partner is always there for you, and the importance of consistency is you can count on your partner. Now I'm gonna stop right there. Lady Carla's gonna start talking about compassion.
Good evening, everyone. Compassion. So we heard about being consistent, and consistency matters, but compassion matters. Compassion is kindness and consideration. Compassion in action is empathy. Compassion is an action word. So one of the scriptures that come to our mind as it relates to compassion is rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. I have a quick video I would like Deaconess Nettles to play right now so we can bring this compassion home.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy: perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth, staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do, recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you can climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Okay, so that wanted to show you that little video, because that's what compassion is. It's really empathy in action. Your partner must not only hear the words that mean you care, they must also experience the action behind the words. And a lot of times we can say the right words, but we can also miss the mark because our actions aren't in alignment with our words. So that's the difference. You know, we have to kind of get in there and show compassion. And I know sometimes as couples, we take each other for granted with like, well, they know I love them. They know I'm here for them. They know this, they know that. Yes, they might know it, but they also want you to show it. And empathy is just one of those things we have to continually improve upon. So we can't just say they just know how I am. They know I'm not touchy-feely. They know you don't have to be all of that as the video shows. It's just showing that you're concerned, that you go into that place in you that hurts, you know, like the other person hurts, and have, you know, compassion. So compassion is crucial. Now, what kind of hinders us sometimes from having compassion is our family of origin. Maybe, you know, the way they dealt with concerns and issues, they didn't seem as outwardly supportive, or maybe, you know, they had other ways of showing their support. But you have to get to know your partner and know what is meaningful to them, and that takes time. And I'll say cultural differences, and that could be that's again family differences. It could be regional. You know, people that come from certain parts of the country seem to be more compassionate than others. You know, we hear that all the time. Oh, nobody even speaks, you know, in New York, but in the South, everybody speaks like they know the person. So some of it's cultural. Some of it is our personalities kind of keep us from sometimes expressing compassion, or maybe expressing it even more. So these are the things to take into consideration. It's not a reason why people aren't doing it. It's just that this gives you more information when you feel like your partner isn't meeting your expectations in this area. So we often also express our compassion differently and we experience compassion differently. So it's a lot of different things that go into why it may seem like your partner might not be as compassionate as you would like them to be towards your situation, or even have empathy. So it's not just they're blowing you off, they don't care, they're distant. It's a lot that goes into it. So getting to know your partner is important, because all of these factors, can play a role in how they respond, and then your response back to them. So keep that in mind, because we don't want any confusion, right? We want to communicate. We want to have our consistent behavior. We want these things to work for us. And you might not get it right every time, but it's the thought behind it. So are you able to express that, hey, I know that might not have come out right, but I really am here for you. So it's a way to kind of get that, again, that connection that the video was talking about. Also, I know the couples and a lot of us, I recommend this book a lot, The Love Languages. This does help. It's not the answer for everything, but it can help you to show that compassion, because you can speak in your mate's love language, and that can, again, foster connection, and then that can hopefully get the meaning across that you're trying to get. So here's a question for you. I know that we've been asking a lot of questions, but this is just something for you to think about. How do you show your partner that you care? So that's something, each couple has their own way of showing the other that they care. And that's what's most important, that you all know what that is, so that you can feel that connection and that compassion, because you don't want to have to get that outside of your relationship, that you're closer to others than you are, to your partner. So that's why this compassion and empathy, is really important. Our next C after compassion is compromise. Whew. I was like, wait a minute, I don't know. So, yep, it's compromise. Now, this sounds like, okay, I'm not compromising myself for others and all that. But compromise is, you can look at it, it can be a positive or negative, but we're looking at compromise in a positive way. Compromise is to be flexible, right? It's have some wiggle room. Meet halfway, so we're going to meet in the middle, and it's also about mediation. So what does this mean? It means you're not going to agree about everything all the time, right? So like I said earlier, you have different backgrounds, different family origins, different cultural, it's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So these differences a lot of times come up when it's time to make decisions. Basically, that's when you have to make a compromise, when it's decision-making time. And what I like to encourage you is to realize that what helps in making these compromises is if you have shared values. So shared values mean the things that are important to us are the same. So that's a conversation that needs to be had. And the more you have those kind of conversations, the better. Doesn't mean you agree upon everything, but our shared values is that Jesus is the center of our relationship. That's a shared value, right? So that means that this is how we operate, this is how we function out of that shared value. But if you haven't discussed what your shared values are, it's hard. So one of the scriptures I like to use as far as this compromise and shared values go is Ephesians 5:21. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. So it's not one or the other. Christ is at the center. You should be able to come to an agreement because you're submitting to one another out of reverence to Christ. Also, what are you willing to to agree to in order to create harmony. So compromise is about, again, what can we both live with, right? Not who's right and who's wrong. How can we, both live with this discussion? And we have to admit, we haven't always done this compromise. It's been my way or the highway, kind of situations periodically in relationships. So that's why we're having this discussion now, because it's never too late to learn the art of being harmonious and making decisions that have Christ as the center. Each of you also must be secure in who you are and what you bring to the table. We heard the pastor talk about that earlier. You can't just be swallowed up in your spouse, in your mate, in your partner. You have to have your own individual thoughts and processes, and you bring that to the relationship. So when you bring that, that's why compromise is necessary, because you're two different people. You're not going to agree on everything, and that's okay. It's okay to not agree. It's not okay not to try to work through it. Again, that's where Jesus comes in. Because we all have complementary styles. As I said earlier, different personalities. We have different gifts. And all of these things that come into play about why compromise is necessary. It also means that you can always work through anything. You might not agree with the outcome, right? Because you had to come to a compromise, but at least you're having a discussion. As the pastor said, you're making some meaningful discussions. It's not just surface things. And if you have not, I think this pandemic has had people bring up their non-negotiables. So maybe these are things you hadn't discussed in a long time or ever, but this has made you think, wait a minute, there's some things, look, I'm not taking this off the table. If this isn't if I can't do this, if this isn't a part of our relationship, it's tough. Or can we make it a part? So maybe up until now it hasn't been a part, but the compromise is, hey, let's add these shared values, non-negotiables to our relationship going forward. So it's never too late to kind of put some things in place. You don't have to say, well, this isn't going to work because we don't have any of this going on now. That's fine. It's how you can start. You can start to begin to compromise now. You cannot change your mate by shaming them, by using manipulation, by using Bible scriptures to get them in line. None of that is suggested when you're trying to compromise. If anything, that's going to work against you. 1 Peter 4:8 says, most important of all, continue to show deep love for each other. For love covers over what? A multitude of sins. And I just have a picture I want Deaconess Nettles to put up, and that's it. I'll give it back to Bishop. So I'll read it out for you. Yes, love is all about sacrifice and compromise, but it's important also to establish a limit. You shouldn't have to throw your whole life away to make a relationship work. If you have to lose yourself to please your partner, you're with the wrong person. And that's what the pastor said basically earlier.
Before we go into that, there's a question that raised about empathy. What is a way to practice empathy?
A way to practice empathy. So we know empathy is walking in the other person's shoes, right? So even if it's something it's foreign to you, you could start getting used to. You could say, what? So say if someone's sad about a loss of their coworker, and you're like, who cries over a coworker? Well, we don't know. People spend a lot of time with their coworkers. So you could say, well, wow, I haven't lost a coworker before. I don't know how, I can't imagine how you must feel. What's that like to lose your cherished coworker? So you could enter into a conversation to develop that empathy, to ask your mate, what is that like? Because I haven't had that experience. Or when I have lost a coworker, or had to lose a job or other things, I didn't respond like you are. So what's touching you in that space? Whereas I've had the same experience, but not the same kind of emotional expression. And so that's how you can kind of develop empathy. You might, again, because personality, you know, family of origin, cultural, all these things, but you could still inquire of the other person and sit with them. Sometimes you just sit. Remember the ministry of presence? That is like the most underrated ministry of all. So always be available. And the pastor just mentioned that. Consistency in your presence.
So Lady Carla's talked about compassion and compromise. I initially dealt with consistency because the aim tonight is to give us tools, techniques, a path to bring out the best in our partner. I've been using that word path quite often sermonically in Bible study over the last few weeks because there has to be a path that we find ourselves on to make sure we're walking into the true will of God for our lives. The fourth seed I'm going to raise, and then we'll take even more questions, is commitment. And it's not commitment like we normally would talk about commitment. I'm going to, again, broach that subject from a different lens tonight because if we're going to bring out the best in our partner, then we Lord, I just noticed my son is on here. Praise the Lord. Ain't that something? Praise the God. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Tim must have twisted his arm. Thank you. But commitment. What are we committing ourselves to? Number one, when I raise the term commitment in relationship, we're committing to making your partner feel safe and secure. You have to commit to making your partner feel safe and secure. What are you doing to make them feel they're safe and secure, not just in life, but in the relationship? Do they feel secure in relationship? Do they feel safe in the relationship? Because if this is going to happen, here's the steps that need to be taken. Number one, you have to be committed to sharing with your partner your most valuable asset. You have to be committed to sharing with your partner your most valuable asset. What's your most valuable asset? What's your most valuable asset? Got it? Thinking about it? Your most valuable asset is your time. Are you committed to sharing with your partner your most valuable asset? Not just a ride in the car, not just their side of the bed, but time. If I can't get some of your time, we don't have a relationship. What I want more than anything else is some of your present time, quality time. Watch, I'm gonna make up a word. Y'all know I'll make up words. I think it's a word. This may be a word. Some of your untired time. Y'all haven't heard me make up a word in a long time. Your untired time. Give me some of your I don't want you when you're tired. I mentioned earlier about being fresh in a relationship. So there has to be we have to commit to making our partners feel safe and secure, and we do that by committing to sharing our most valuable asset, which is our time. Second commitment we have to make is this. A second commitment is this. We have to be committed to noticing the little things. Don't just tell me that my hair is out of place. I know that. Tell me some of the little things. I know I'm bald. I've known that for quite a few years. Notice what are the little things about me? For instance, do you know when I'm happy? Do you know when I'm afraid? Do you know when I'm walking in fear? Do you know when I'm nervous? Your partner needs to be able to notice the little things about you. or you need to, rather, you need to be able to notice the little things about them? Are you committed to getting to know them so well that you know when they walk in a room that that something has rattled them, shaken them, taking them out of their norm? So we're committed to making your partner feel safe and secure. You do that by sharing your most valuable asset. You're committed to noticing the little things. But thirdly, and we mentioned this earlier, you're committed to bringing out the best in them. I want to bring out, many of you all, we know how to poke the bear to bring out the worst in our mate, don't we? You know how, but are you committed to bringing out the best in me? To making me do stuff can't nobody else make me do? How are you committed to making me want to give you the best that I have all the time? Because you bring that out of me. So number 4, and I'm gonna move quickly because I know our time is running out. Are you committed to sacrificing for me? I'm preaching Sunday. No, this is Bible study. Dealing in Bible study about sacrifice. Are you committed to making sacrifices for me? Are you willing to give up in this season watching basketball all day long just to look at me, take care of me, make me feel good because I've had a bad day? How committed are you to doing that? Number 5, there has to be a commitment. Are you committed to sharing my hurts, not just my victories? Committed to sharing my hurts, not just my victories. Because relationships prosper, and that little clip on empathy says it so well. You're committed to sharing my hurts, not just my victories. Someone said, explain this shirt. The shirt says,
oh yes, this shirt.
That's why I stay in the basement.
He says this every day, all day. Sorry, y'all.
That's why I stay in the basement. That's
what
why
he
I
says
stay in the
all
basement.
day, every day.
When they get on my nerves, that's why I stay in the basement. When they won't do what I say do, that's why I stay in the basement.
Yep, for everything he says.
That's what the shirt means. That's why I stay in the basement.
So sorry.
Detour.
Now y'all see how the
detour,
pandemic has
detour.
played out. That's
why I stay in the basement all day long. Where can I get one for my husband? I'll hook you up. We're committed. What else are we committed to? Committed to encouraging you to explore your joys. I'm committed to, if I'm going to bring out the best in you, I have to be committed to encouraging Carla Debnam to explore her joys. Now, I know this is hard to believe. Now hear me very carefully. I know this is hard to believe, but I'm not the only thing that brings her joy. I know it's hard to believe. I know you. It's hard to believe that I'm not the only thing that brings joy to her life. But there may be, other than Jesus, a couple other things that bring her joy. And I had to be committed to encouraging her to explore her joys. For instance, in this season, before it got cold, one of the things I would do, and Lady Carla encouraged me to do this, is to go out and play golf. I enjoy playing golf. So she encouraged me to go out and play golf every now and then.
I was trying to get him out of the basement.
Out the basement. Because now I'm just staying in the basement. But there's been a commitment there. Also committed, here's a crucial one, I'm almost done, I'll take some more questions. Committed to making decisions that are in the best interest of the two of us and not only about me. When I make big decisions, it can't be about just what's best for me. It has, and you all know that, you all knew that one. But then the last one, and Lady Carla hit this one already. You have to be committed to compromise. I've been pastoring 25 years now. I've been in full-time ministry 31 years. One of the things I've seen that can bring havoc into a relationship is when there is an unwillingness to compromise. There has to be a willingness to compromise. And so if we're going to bring out the best in one another, there has to be consistency, there has to be compassion, there has to be compromise, there has to be commitment, because the aim is to make sure she's not going to be happy if I only bring out the worst in her. I've got to make it my goal. And if I would sing tonight, but I got to preach 3 times Sunday, so I'm not going to sing. I'm going to save my voice for Sunday morning. I would sing. Y'all, "Carla, My Love" was actually sung by me originally. Y'all know that, right? Y'all knew that, right? Y'all don't know "Carla, My Love."
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about singing it. We want you to save your voice. Don't sing.
Compromise. I'll save my voice for Sunday.
Yes.
Now, but the key is this. The key is the aim is to bring out the best in one another. All right. I want to hit some of these questions. Anthony, can you give me those questions? I saw some of them come through, and I saw Vanessa put a couple up there under. Someone put a couple up under there.
Bishop, there was one, if I could just say it, I'm off my Bishop, there was one where persons are trying to address the commitment issues, whether it be knowing the little things or missing the little things, how you handle these encounters without everything turning into an argument.
Right. Here's the thing that I think is so critical, so important. And what we don't do enough of is talk about expectations.
Yes, that's a good one.
What do you expect from me? Do you expect me to notice little things? Okay, if you expect me to notice your moods, how things are going, is teach me. Teach me how you want to be treated. Don't just expect me. Oh, I praise the Lord. I see the gentlemen are clapping their hands. Teach me how you want me to treat you. Don't just expect me to know how to treat me, because keep in mind, because some of us weren't taught this husband stuff. We've learned it on the fly. And so teach me and be patient with me. I mean, keep in mind, marriage is a lifetime commitment. And it's going to take time to learn these things. But it's all about expectations. I think every 6 months or so, and Lady Carla drags me into this, y'all. Tell me, she drags me into this. But she was to talk. What are our new goals that I can count on it? On our anniversary night, she asked me, "What are our new goals?" And I'm gonna sit there and say, "All right, let me pay attention." But you have to do that. You have to do that. You have to talk about. Do you expect me to compliment you? Yes. Okay, so let me know that. Don't assume that I know what to do. Have a conversation with me, and we deal with these, and we agree. It's like in pre-marriage counseling, and those of you who have been through pre-marriage counseling with me know I ask the question I'm about to ask: have you developed a vision statement? What's your vision statement? Because even no matter how long you've been married, there shall always be a vision statement that you are tweaking every year. And so those expectations are guarded out of that vision statement. All right?
Bishop, what's the best way to approach talking about a sensitive subject?
Yeah, I was going to say you find the right time. So, timing is everything in some of these instances. And if it's a repeated concern, so you find the right time, location, so you don't, just bring it up at the grocery store. When this always happens. So time, place, but also you might want to write down your points. What do you want to cover? And let's stick to this line of thought and why we are discussing this again. Are we, we're trying to just get our feelings out, or are we trying to come up with a solution? And then are we open to outside advice? So you might know people that might have dealt with whatever you're going through, and they might have some strategies. So you have to be open to that. But I would say it's okay to have a plan of action. This is what we want to talk about, and it doesn't mean it's not going to be emotional. So that's not the goal. Is to not have emotions. The goal is to communicate and to express it so that it won't keep coming up again. We just heard about this in cycles. In order to break some of these relationship cycles, it's going to be tough. It's going to be those sweaty conversations where we're like, oh my God, are we going to survive this conversation? And but you have to have them, and every relationship has them periodically. So it's not like a one and done. It's normally on, at different points. So.
And I would add, and Lady Carla hit it. I just want to dive into it just a little bit more. Timing. For instance, ladies, sisters, if Brother Man watching the Lakers spank the Clippers, that ain't the time to have a deep conversation. It's timing. It's timing is critical. When is he or she? When are they prone to really have a good conversation? Is it late at night, early in the morning? Is it over a meal? Is it when you're on a walk, when you're working out? Like, I mean, Lady Carla, she has this tendency to want to talk while I'm working out. Now, if I'm working out, I don't want to talk.
That is what I do.
And that's what she. Yeah.
Sorry, I mean, timing. See, I already know.
But timing is critical. Pick the moment when they're more open to conversation.
Hey, Bishop, any advice in the area of boundaries, where the boundaries between the mother-in-law, children, where the boundaries have been challenged in a relationship? How do they maintain their boundaries?
Here's the first thing. Don't assume that boundaries are there if you haven't established them. Sometimes we assume that mom ain't got nothing to do with what goes in my house, but we never talked about that in the house. Establish the boundaries first. And because once they are established, it's easy to have a conversation about them being broken. Now, if they've been established and they're broken, again, the conversation becomes very, very easy. Listen, we said, we agreed to that what your mother did or said ain't got nothing to do with what we do. So don't bring her name in it because it ain't her conversation. Establish the boundaries. And then you have a right to hold your mate accountable to keeping the boundaries.
Yeah, and I would say boundaries is something that you can go back to the table and compromise over, right? Because there might be a change in how you relate, to your extended family members, based upon situations or scenarios. So again, sometimes you have to compromise. Sometimes you have to remind each other about, like the pastor said, the boundaries that were already set, and that it's up to, in my opinion, you to take care of your own mother. So it shouldn't be the in-law calling their in-law, setting them straight. That's if I bring it up, it would be my spouse's role to check his family, for lack of a better word, to get them. But again, boundaries can change based upon situations. But Yeah.
It is a couple more questions. How do you keep talking to someone who is not listening?
You stop.
Mhm.
That's gonna sound rather
Wow.
harsh, but they're not listening. Don't talk, because watch this. Wait until they're ready to talk.
Mhm. Yeah.
Don't try to talk to somebody who ain't listening, because what that does is it fuels them. They ain't listening. So save your anger.
Yes.
Save it.
And frustration.
Yeah.
And then this is when they're ready to talk, you don't have a list of 10 things, but you hit your top 3 of things I really would love us to discuss. I know you've been avoiding it or whatever, but save it. And sometimes I have another strategy is for I use the look when you're on these long drives, that's when you bring up stuff because they can't get out the car. I know it's awful. I'm sorry, they're trapped with you. They're trapped in the car with you. Sorry. So that's a secret.
That's why you don't take long drives.
They're trapped in the car with you, so they can't get out of not talking to you. Sorry, but this is a tip. But if they're not listening, is it your approach? Again, it's timing. Is it the topic? Like, is it another way to bring it up? Can you find like a skit or some television show, This Is Us, or some emo show, and like, what do you think about that? And they're like, oh, I don't agree with that. Get something. Maybe they'll talk when you have a show or something else that's not focused on them. So it's a way to kind of get in it. But if it becomes overwhelming for you, then to just table it. Unless it's like life and death or something, then you have to address it.
Bishop, it is on our list, and you may have addressed this, but I'll share. How do you plan for marriage when you have not seen a good marriage? You preach about breaking cycles, et cetera. So how do you even expect to have a good marriage when you haven't seen good marriages?
One of the things I encourage persons to do, and I'll go back to my pre-marriage counseling years, every couple needs models and mentors. You need mentors for your marriage. One of the dangerous things to do is to be in a relationship and the majority of your friends are single. To be in a marriage and the majority of your friends are single. That's a dangerous way to be because they don't understand the boundaries of a marriage. You got to make sure that, especially if you have not had good models for marriage, find them. It's a question I ask in every pre-marriage counseling session is, who are your models for marriage? And I'll tell couples quickly, if you don't have any, find some. Don't use single people as your model for marriage. Don't use divorced people as your models for marriage. If theirs ain't work, find you some models who have healthy. Now, they may not have everything about their marriage will be perfect, but that's why you have more than one mentor. And you pull from them.
Hey, Pastor, so we don't get blamed for not hitting tough topics tonight. Somebody asked, how do you cheat-proof your relationship, cheat-proof your marriage?
That's interesting. And I'm almost going to say that's almost impossible to do. But I'm going to say this also. You have to build security and trust. One of the things I said earlier was that you have to make sure you make persons feel secure. Safe and secure. Those things we dealt with earlier, safe and secure. Make them feel safe in a relationship, make them feel secure in a relationship. And keep in mind also, sometimes persons go outside a relationship and it's not about you. It's about what they've experienced. It's about some pains they have. It's about what they've seen in their models. It's not, don't blame yourself when someone goes outside of the marriage. It's probably not, 9 out of 10 is not your fault. It's them. It's something they got to work through.
And I would say, this is again where this compromise and consistency and just having compassion, just keep the communication open. And when we see that our spouses or mate is vulnerable to certain temptations of any kind, then this is something. If we see them, the triggers, right? We see some triggers, or we know environments, behaviors. We know, like you said, certain people. Of course, not all our single or divorced friends are leading us astray, but we know the ones that are. So that could be, or even our married friends that aren't always the most supportive. So it's just about surrounding yourself with healthy relationships and dialogue, and calling people on their triggers for, a behavior that isn't good for the marriage, because that commitment, it could be anything. It could be addictions you don't, had promised not to get into, and now you're into that, or just other ways that you have you can become unfaithful through other situations and circumstances. But I think knowing triggers and just keeping each other accountable as much as possible, but knowing that things happen, and like the pastor said, it's usually something going on with the person that you just have to pray them through it, really.
Hey, Lady Carla, this wasn't a question, but can you just speak to counseling being a good decision and doesn't mean you have a horrible marriage, that your marriage is over, for those people who seek counseling for their marriage?
Yeah, counseling, we say it like when the relationship thing earlier this month, RC chat, that's all we kept saying. Every other answer was get some professional counseling, because even if you don't need it as a couple, you might need it individually to heal from your hurts that you might have brought into the relationship, or your addictions, or your other issues, or maybe life has happened and you are struggling, and now it's affecting your marriage, and you don't want to bring your family member down. I mean, your spouse down, and you don't mind sharing. But it's good if you work through some things. So you might need individual counseling. Then if it's couples counseling, that could be a part of, just strengthening the marriage. I always say you could do counseling as a way of just refreshing and learning tips, and how we can communicate. What is a good time? Maybe it's a skill that you need to learn, that you can learn and practice, within the counseling, a safe environment, so that you can learn a healthy way to communicate. So I think that's what is benefit. Most people come to couples counseling when it's like it's nothing. It's almost they're hanging on by a thread. But if you come sooner, you can usually, and both are invested, it works.
And let me add one thing. Again, I'll go back to my pre-marriage counseling that I get the persons. Just like you go to your dentist on a regular basis for teeth cleaning, and you go to your regular doctor for a physical every year, couples need to get a health check often. You want some different eyes on your relationship. And so make it a regular part of your yearly routine. Just checking. Go ahead, Anthony.
How soon after getting engaged should you go to marriage counseling?
Immediately.
Yeah, because you might need, more sessions than the minimum requirement. Most people need more like for our church is 6, but you know, most people need more than that because a lot of people are bringing blended families. So we have that. We might have some second marriages, you know, so and other things that make coming together more challenging. Doesn't make it impossible, but it just people are bringing other issues to the table more than usual. I would say.
Bishop, what do you say to the couple who are saying that the pandemic has shown them that they don't need to be a couple anymore?
Go to counseling.
Go to counseling, okay?
And here's why, because the pandemic has triggered some stressors. And I preached a sermon probably about 20 years ago, and I coined this phrase, the issue behind the issue. Outwardly, you're frustrated, but what's the internal issue that you're dealing with? You've lost control. You can't control this pandemic. And so now you're frustrated outwardly, but the real issue is, I feel like I've lost control. And so what's the issue behind the issue? I would encourage couples, get some counseling first, because it may not be your marriage
Right.
that's on the brink of destruction.
Yeah.
It's some stuff personally. You're frustrated, you're angry, you're hurting, you're bitter, and all this stuff is going on. These colliding pandemics.
Colliding.
And I would say too, what a lot of people were having issues, of course, pre-pandemic, and so it just seems like the pandemic is just out, for lack of a better word, the excuse, right, to separate now. But again, if we do some individual reflection and get the support we need to quell our anxiety or fears or whatever it could be, that could be sending us to that brink of you know, divorce or separation. So, but some people it's pre-pandemic, and again, these are things to discuss. Hey, we had these problems before. It seems like they're more challenging now, but I don't want to give up on our relationship. You know, so but it still takes two to stick it out. But again, if you need to decide what you need to do as an individual, like the pastor said, sometimes you have to get the support you need, and maybe you getting that support, your partner will see the change in you, and then they may want to do some internal work as well. So that sometimes helps.
All right. So Pastor, we're half an hour over.
I know.
Hey, but this is great. But Bishop, let me ask you this question, Bishop. Does it amaze you and Lady Carla, and don't joke this one off, that you have made it 37 years? That you have been married 37 years.
Yeah. Listen, y'all see her on Sundays.
He's gonna joke it away.
No, yes, I mean it's amazing. It's been a wonderful journey. It is a wonderful journey.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think of the number of years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But I can say I wouldn't have it any other way.
Amen.
And
all right.
again, so we've been through a lot of these cycles that we're, talking about tonight of, learning timing, learning when,
Y'all see who talks all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you have to learn, and you learn over time. And that's what you said earlier, that we learn these things over time. And so, time doesn't make everything go away. You have to still address these things. But I would say that's what we've learned.
But truth of the matter is, she don't have much to deal with me.
Now, everybody, y'all.
What more?
I ain't saying nothing.
Other than Jesus.
we'll keep everybody muted. So we'll keep everybody, we'll keep everybody. Hey, everybody, can we unmute 1 second and just scream and thank God for our pastor and first lady? I don't know if we're able to.
Praise the
Mhm.
Lord.
I wanted,
I miss y'all. Lord knows I miss y'all.
Yeah, this you too, Pastor.
I wanted to ask Bishop that last question about 38 years, because, you know, I don't know, I know their journey, 37, on their way to 38. You know, they're in their 38th year in 2 weeks. But you know, but I think they're models for us, because we get, as the couples ministry, we get blamed for everybody seems so perfect, so I don't want to be a part of the couples ministry. And we're like, who said that? You know, I don't know who said that in this life of stresses and financial challenges and in-law relationship and death. And I don't know who spread that rumor. I don't know what we got to do to dispel that one, but we're all working day by day to keep it together and hold it together. And Bishop and them have done it for 38 years through all the stresses, all the ups, all the downs, etc. So we are excited to be the leadership for the ministry. We're grateful that Bishop and Lady Carla gave us this time on their calendars tonight. We look forward, we got your email addresses now. So we look forward to you all sharing with us. Many persons do, but we're back next month for a prayer call. Then our next session happens on a Saturday night. Next month, we'll be together talking about stretching and your relationship. So you can be with us even beyond tonight, because we find that iron sharpens iron. And it's good to be, Pastor and said that, you know, we need models, we need mentors, we need persons who are on the same journey with us. So thanks for joining us tonight. We kept you an extra half an hour, but I'm going to give the pre-last word to Vanessa and James, and then I'm going to turn it over to Lady Carla and Bishop to close us out and do a closing prayer. But before that, if James and Vanessa want to share anything I may have missed.
All right, thank you. We just want to say thank you to everyone who came out tonight. This has been a very good conversation and dialogue. We are so happy to see so many faces tonight, faces that we haven't seen in a while. I can't wait until we get back to church as well. I'm sure James is ready to get out of this house, but we are just excited about.
But y'all don't have a basement.
Right, exactly. He has to go to one end of the house and I'm at the other end. So, you know, and in the middle is Jared. So he's trying to keep us all together. But, yeah, he needs a lot of it. Yeah, we really work his nerves, but it's all right. We're maintaining through the pandemic. We're almost out, y'all. We're almost there. So that's a good thing. I think that we'll be back together soon. We'll be able to do some things outside, you know, and bring everybody together. And, you know, we'll be able to continue to practice our promise to each other. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you all for coming. Lady Carla, if you can close us out.
Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you, God, for all that you have poured into us this evening, God. We pray, God, that you just give us the strength to be committed to one another, to have a spirit of compromise, God, that we would compromise and work through any issues we may have, that we would have compassion, that we would be consistent, God, that we would just be the people you have called us to be and be loved. Most of all, let us love our spouses, our mates, our partners, as you have called us to love them. Love them as you love us, God. Help us to love them. And we just pray that you would give us unconditional love and kindness towards one another, that we might bear in fruit in this season, that we will come out of this pandemic with prosperous testimonies of how you have brought us through. We thank you, God, in Jesus' name, amen.